Okay, so we're looking at a twin pair of choroi this time. These two stand in the Delphi Archaeological Museum, and they are given the name Kleobis and Biton, although some people do consider they might be Castor and Pollux, or Polydeuces, the twin brothers of Helen and Clytemnestra. But let's stick with this more commonly thought Kleobis and Biton idea for a moment and think about where it comes from. Well, it's a story by the Greek historian Herodotus, and the story is about a dialogue, a discussion between Solon, who was the Athenian lawmaker and statesman, and then King Croesus of Lydia. Now, Croesus asks Solon who he found to be the happiest person in the world. And Solon names a man called Tellus as his first choice, but then Kleobis and Biton, this pair, as his second and his third choice. And he goes on to explain that no man can be truly happy whilst he's still alive until he knows he's had a good death. So you now need to know the bit of story about what happened to Kleobis and Biton. So these were brothers from Argos, and their mother was a priestess. And she was unable to travel to the Argive Heraion, the temple to Hera, because her oxen were sick. So her sons carried the car with their mother on themselves from Argos. And then she prayed that they would be given the greatest gift possible. And they fell asleep in the temple and never woke up. So she had given them that kind of good death. But at the same time, the kind of fame that lived on because of the great deed that they had carried out. So that is the kind of the reasoning behind them being given the names Kleobis and Biton. Now, if we have a look at them, in many ways, they resemble still the New York chorus. They're in the sentry box pose for a start. They've still got some Egyptian influence with their long braided hair. But even in that short space of time, we're talking a decade or two, there has been a little bit of improvement. So if you look at their elbows, there's a slight bend in them. So a kind of hint at movement. We haven't got the arms entirely straight down by the body. We've also got slightly more rounded muscles than on the New York chorus. They've got much more upper body strength. They look stronger as a pair. And you know what, that might be if they are Kleobis and Biton because it fits their subject matter better. They carried that cart, remember, all that distance. But in terms of realism, anatomically, they are an improvement. We've also got an emotion now with these pair. If you look at the faces, you will see they are smiling. And this is known as the archaic smile. We do see it on the majority of statues from this point on now. So it is just typically a stylistic feature of the archaic period. But in this case as well, with this kind of honorific element, it does fit with the subject matter too, because you get that impression that they are content in the afterlife, having had their good death.